The chilling gambit of Eliza Vance. Would you dare to fake your own death to unmask a betrayal that would chill you to the bone? This story is about Eliza Vance, a woman who, through sheer grit and business acumen, built an empire of luxury car dealerships in California from nothing. She had it all: wealth, success, and what she believed was a loving marriage. Until a car accident changed everything. The first thing Eliza perceived was pain, a dull, throbbing ache that radiated throughout her body. Her eyelids felt heavy, too heavy to open, but her mind was beginning to clear. The sounds of the hospital filtered in, the steady beep of monitors, the squeak of shoes on linoleum floors, the hushed voices of medical staff. She remembered fragments: driving home from work, her phone ringing, Marcus calling in a panic about an emergency at the office. Then the bridge, the moment she hit the brake pedal, and nothing happened. The horrifying sensation of acceleration instead of stopping. The guardrail, the plunge. Eliza tried to open her eyes, but a wave of nausea stopped her. She lay still, trying to get her bearings, when she heard her room door open. "How is she today?" The voice of Marcus, her husband of 8 years. A wave of relief washed over her. He was here. Everything would be okay. "No change, Mr. Thorne," a female voice, likely a nurse, replied. "The doctor will be in shortly to discuss her condition." "Thank you." Marcus's voice sounded tense, concerned. Eliza tried again to open her eyes, but her body refused to cooperate. She heard the nurse leave, the door closing softly, and then, unexpectedly, she heard a second voice, a familiar female voice. "Still unconscious?" The voice was low, intimate, and completely unconcerned. "The doctor says she might never wake up." Marcus's voice had completely changed. It was no longer tense, but almost relieved. "So our plan worked perfectly." The woman laughed softly. Eliza's mind froze. That voice. Victoria. Her personal assistant of 3 years. "The brake failure worked better than we expected," Marcus said, his voice now casual, almost cheerful. "Now we just wait for nature to take its course." A soft rustle of fabric, the sound of a kiss. "You're brilliant, Marcus. I knew you could pull it off." Eliza's heart began to race. The monitor beside her beeped a little faster. She forced herself to breathe slowly and evenly, terrified they would notice she was conscious. "Careful," Marcus whispered. "Even like this, she's still causing trouble." "How long do we have to wait?" Victoria asked, the impatience clear in her tone. "Not long. I've already spoken with her lawyers. With her in this condition, as her husband, I get control of everything. The dealerships, the properties, her accounts, everything. And once you have control," Victoria pressed, "then we'll have a tragic conversation with the doctors about quality of life and her wishes not to be kept alive by machines." Eliza was always very clear about that, wasn't she? How lucky she was to have such an attentive husband who remembered her wishes. Marcus's voice was cold, calculating. They laughed together, the sound piercing Eliza's heart like a physical blow. "I still can't believe how easy it was," Victoria said, moving around the room. Eliza could hear her heels clicking on the floor. "One call about an office emergency, her rushing to that old bridge where no one would see a thing. The mechanic I paid did an excellent job. The brake line severed just enough to fail when she needed it most. And with her car at the bottom of that ravine, no one would look too closely at a simple mechanical failure." Eliza felt sick. The car accident had been no accident at all. Her husband had tried to kill her. He was still trying to kill her, and her own assistant was his accomplice. "Do you think anyone suspects anything?" Victoria asked. "Who would? Everyone knows we were the perfect couple." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Only you and I know how cold and controlling she really was. Always working, always expanding the business, treating me like I was just another employee instead of her husband." Well, soon you'll have all her money without having to deal with her anymore, Victoria cooed. And I'll finally get what I deserve after watching her swan around as if she was so special. Eliza heard the sound of a drawer opening. Looking for these? Marcus asked, her diamond earrings. Victoria gave a soft squeal. The ones she never let me borrow. You mind if I? They're yours now, darling. Everything of hers is yours now. Eliza felt a presence near her bed. She could smell Victoria's distinctive perfume. I always knew I'd look better in these anyway, Victoria said, presumably admiring herself in a mirror. In that moment, Eliza made a decision that would change everything. She would not open her eyes. She would not let them know she was conscious. She would feign a coma until she could figure out how to protect herself. Because if Marcus discovered she was awake, he would surely find another way to finish what he had started. Would you have the courage to pretend you were unconscious while your spouse plotted against you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. A desperate plea. The next day, Eliza heard the door open and close. She kept her breathing even, her body motionless. Good morning, Ms. Vance. I'm Dr. Chen. I'm just going to check on your vitals. Eliza felt gentle hands checking the monitors, adjusting something on her arm. She heard the doctor making notes, his pen scratching on paper. He was alone. This might be her only chance. Slowly, carefully, Eliza opened her eyes. Just a slit. The light was blinding after so long in the dark. Ms. Vance, the doctor gasped, leaning over. Eliza opened her eyes fully, looking directly into the startled doctor. She raised a trembling finger to her lips. Please, she whispered, her voice rough from disuse. Don't tell anyone I'm awake. Dr. Chen stared at her in shock. Ms. Vance, this is wonderful news. Your husband will be— No, Eliza gasped urgently, grabbing his wrist with surprising strength. My husband! He did this to me. He and my assistant. They tried to kill me. I heard them talking. Dr. Chen's expression shifted from joy to concern. Ms. Vance, you've been through a traumatic experience. Sometimes patients experience confusion. The brake lines, Eliza insisted. He paid someone to cut my brake lines. They are waiting for me to die so they can take my money. Please, if he knows I'm awake, he'll try again. The doctor studied her face intensely. That's a very serious accusation. I know, Eliza whispered, but I heard them. They didn't know I could hear everything. Please, Dr. Chen, I need time. Time to figure out how to protect myself. Dr. Chen glanced at the door, then back at Eliza. If what you say is true, you could be in danger. I know, Eliza said, a tear sliding down her cheek. Will you help me? After a long moment, Dr. Chen nodded. I will continue to report no change in your condition. But Ms. Vance, I can't maintain this deception indefinitely. We need to involve the authorities. Not yet, Eliza pleaded. Marcus has connections with the local police. I need proof first. Please, give me time. I will help, Dr. Chen finally agreed. But only for a short time. And if I ever believe you are in imminent danger, I will have to act. Thank you, Eliza whispered, closing her eyes as she heard approaching footsteps. When Marcus entered the room, Eliza appeared completely unconscious again, and Dr. Chen was calmly reviewing her chart. Any change, doctor? Marcus asked, his voice perfectly calibrated to sound concerned. No significant change, Mr. Thorne, Dr. Chen replied, and Eliza marveled at how steady his voice remained. Her condition remained stable but unchanged. I see, Marcus said, and Eliza could hear the disappointment he was trying to mask. How long do you think she'll remain like this? It's impossible to say. Brain injuries are unpredictable. Some patients awaken after days, others after months or years. Some, unfortunately, never regain consciousness. And what are her chances of waking up? Given the extent of her injuries and the time that has passed without improvement, I would say the chances are becoming slimmer and slimmer. But we don't give up hope, Mr. Thorne. Of course not, Marcus said softly. I just need to be realistic about her care and what she would have wanted. I understand. We can discuss options in my office later this week. For now, talk to her. Some patients can hear even in this state. Eliza almost felt Marcus tense. They can? His voice had a sharp edge to it now. Some research suggests it's possible, though in Ms. Vance's case, given the nature of her brain activity, it's unlikely she's processing much, if anything. I see, Marcus said, sounding relieved. Well, I'll keep that in mind. After Dr. Chen left, Marcus sat by Eliza's bedside. She could feel him watching her, and it took all her willpower to keep her breathing even. Her face relaxed. Eliza, 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 he said softly, but there was no affection in his voice. You always had to do everything the hard way. Couldn't you have just died quickly in the accident? You always have to be in control. He sighed dramatically. You know, none of this would have happened if you had appreciated what you had, if you had treated me like a husband instead of an accessory. His voice hardened. Do you know what it feels like to be introduced as Eliza Vance's husband at every event? For everyone to know you're just the trophy husband she picked up after she got rich? Eliza felt his hand take hers, and she fought the urge to pull away. Well, I guess I should thank you for this at least, he continued. Your condition makes everyone feel so sorry. Poor Marcus, everyone is saying. No one questions me taking over the business decisions. Your empire is already starting to become mine. He put her hand back on the bed carelessly. Victoria is so much more suited to be my wife anyway. She understands what a woman's role should be, and she's 10 years younger than you. Did I ever mention that? Eliza heard him stand. She felt him lean over her. Just between us, he whispered near her ear. I hope you can hear me. I hope somewhere in your brain you know exactly what's happening, and you can't do a thing about it. That would be perfect justice for how powerless you made me feel all these years. When Marcus left the room, Eliza allowed herself a single tear. How had she never seen the hatred beneath his charming facade? Had it always been there, or had it grown over time? She had built her chain of dealerships from a single failing location she had purchased, with every last cent of her savings. She had worked 18-hour days for years, building it into the most successful luxury car company in 3 states. Marcus had entered her life just as she was becoming successful, charming her with his attention and support, or what she had thought was support. She understood it now. He had never been proud of her success. He had been waiting to steal it. Do you believe a person's true character is revealed during a crisis? Why or why not? A chance encounter over the next few days, Eliza learned more about her situation than she ever wanted to know. Marcus visited her daily, always putting on a show of a devoted husband when staff was present. But the moment he was alone, the mask dropped. He brought Victoria with him frequently, and they spoke openly about their plans, confident that Eliza could not hear them. The downtown property transfer went through today, Marcus said during one visit. Her signature looks surprisingly good, doesn't it? You've had enough practice, Victoria laughed. The way you forge it is better than her actual signature. The benefit of watching her sign documents for years, Marcus replied smugly. The best part is, no one questions it. Why would they? Everyone knows I've been handling things while she's been indisposed. Eliza's mind raced. He was forging her signature, transferring her properties. How many had he already stolen? How much damage had been done? What about the dealerships? Victoria asked. The main one is still tricky. That guy, Diego, is being difficult about some of the changes I want to make. The operations manager. I thought you had fired him. I did, but he's still causing problems, questioning the authenticity of documentation, suggesting we get second opinions on Eliza's condition. He's too loyal to her. Can't you just replace him completely? Not yet. He knows too much about how she ran things. I need to learn more before I can completely cut him loose. But soon, Eliza felt a surge of hope. Diego was questioning things. Diego was still loyal. She had hired him 5 years ago, recognizing his integrity and intelligence. Perhaps he could be an ally. Do you think loyalty can be a weakness or a strength in extreme situations? Later that week, Eliza heard Marcus arguing with someone outside her door. "I told you, you're no longer authorized to visit her," Marcus was saying angrily. "I worked with Eliza for 5 years, Mr. Thorne," came Diego's voice. "I just want to see how she is. She's exactly the same as she was last week. Unconscious, unresponsive. The doctors say there's little hope for recovery." "Then what's the harm in letting me see her?" Diego pressed. "I'm trying to move on," Marcus said, his voice adopting a wounded tone Eliza now recognized as completely fake. "Having her former employees parading through here just makes it harder to accept what's happening." 10 minutes, Diego insisted. "It's all I'm asking for." "Fine," Marcus conceded after a pause. 10 minutes. But this is the last time, do you understand? I am her husband. I decide who visits and who doesn't. The door opened, and Eliza could sense Marcus's irritation as he let Diego in. 10 minutes, Marcus repeated. "I'll be right outside." The door closed, and Eliza heard Diego approach her bed. "Hey, Eliza," he said softly. "It's Diego." His voice was gentle, so different from how Marcus spoke to her when they were alone. Eliza desperately wished she could respond, to give some sign that she could hear him. "Things aren't going well at the company," Diego continued. "Marcus is making changes, big changes, selling properties, firing people you've had for years." He sighed heavily. "I tried to stop him. I told him you wouldn't want this, but he says he has power of attorney now." Diego moved closer. "Something doesn't feel right about all of this, Eliza. The accident. Marcus taking over so quickly. I've been asking questions, maybe too many questions. He fired me yesterday." Eliza felt a surge of rage. Diego had been the backbone of her operations, the one person she trusted implicitly with her business. "I don't care about the job," Diego continued, "but I care about what's happening to everything you built. And," his voice dropped, "I care about what happened to you. The police report on your accident feels simplified. There's no real investigation into the brake failure, just a mechanical error." Eliza felt a tear slide down her cheek before she could control it. "Eliza!" Diego's voice changed. It became more alert. "Eliza, you can hear me!" She wanted so badly to open her eyes, to tell him everything. But what if Marcus came back? What if he was watching her somehow? "Your heart rate just spiked," Diego said, and Eliza could hear the rising excitement in his voice. "And that tear? Eliza, if you can hear me, I'm going to find out what really happened. I promise you." The door opened abruptly. "Time's up," Marcus said coldly. "I was just saying goodbye," Diego replied, and Eliza could hear the new determination in his voice. "Well, you've done that. Don't come back, Diego. You're not welcome here anymore." After Diego left, Marcus came over to Eliza's bedside. "Loyal employees," he scoffed, "always sticking their noses where they don't belong. Don't you worry, dear wife. He won't be a problem for long." Eliza's thoughts raced. She needed to find a way to communicate with Diego. But how? How could she get a message to him without Marcus discovering she was conscious? Do you believe Diego can be trusted? Or is he a liability? Why? A glimmer of hope. 2 weeks after Eliza first regained consciousness, she overheard a conversation that chilled her to the bone. "I'd like to discuss end-of-life options for my wife," Marcus was saying to Dr. Chen. They were standing just inside her room. Marcus had requested a private consultation. Mr. Thorne, while your wife's condition has not improved, it has not deteriorated either, Dr. Chen replied cautiously. It's quite early to be having this discussion. Doctor, I know my wife. Eliza was always very clear about not wanting to be kept alive by machines if there was no hope of recovery. You yourself said her chances of waking up diminish with each passing day. That is generally true, but I need closure, Doctor, Marcus interrupted, his voice cracking with what Eliza knew was feigned emotion. Watching her like this, day in and day out, it's destroying me. And running her business affairs while dealing with this emotional burden. I'm barely holding myself together. Dr. Chen was silent for a moment. Mr. Thorne, I understand this is difficult, but we don't typically consider withdrawing life support until every possibility for recovery has been exhausted. Your wife is breathing on her own. Her brain shows activity. These are positive signs. But she's not waking up, Marcus pressed. How long do I have to wait before we can make this decision? Weeks? Months? Years? That is not what Eliza would have wanted. Let me be clear, Dr. Chen said firmly. As her physician, I would not support the withdrawal of care at this stage. It would be premature, and in my professional opinion, inappropriate. I see, Marcus said, his voice turning cold. Perhaps I should speak with the hospital administration about bringing in another physician for a second opinion, someone who might be more sympathetic to our situation. That is your right, Dr. Chen replied stiffly. But I trust any ethical physician would give you the same answer at this stage. We shall see, Marcus said. Thank you for your time, Doctor. After Dr. Chen left, Marcus came over to Eliza's bedside. You always inspired such misguided loyalty, he muttered. First Diego, now this doctor. But it doesn't matter. I'll find someone more cooperative, someone who understands that sometimes letting go is the kindest option. Eliza felt terror building inside her. Marcus was actively trying to have her life support withdrawn. He was no longer content to wait for nature to take its course. He wanted her dead. And soon. Later that night, when the room was silent and Eliza was alone, the door opened softly. Light footsteps approached her bed. Ms. Vance, it's Sarah, your night nurse. Eliza remained perfectly still, maintaining her coma facade. I'm just checking on your vitals, Sarah continued, adjusting something on the monitors. Then, her voice dropped to a whisper. Dr. Chen asked me to keep an extra eye on you, to let him know if anything unusual happens with your husband's visits. Eliza felt her pulse quicken slightly. Your heart rate just spiked, Sarah noted. I've been watching you for a while now, Ms. Vance. I've noticed things, like your heart rate changes when certain people are in the room, the tear when your manager visited, the tension in your face when your husband is here. Sarah leaned in. Ms. Vance, if you can hear me, I want you to know you're not alone. Dr. Chen has concerns, and so do I. If you can hear me, if you're in there. Blink. Eliza hesitated. Could she trust this nurse? Was this a trap set by Marcus? Your husband isn't here, Sarah reassured her, as if reading her thoughts. It's just you and me. If you can hear me, please give me some sign. Taking a leap of faith, Eliza slowly opened her eyes. Sarah gasped softly. Her eyes went wide. You're conscious, she whispered. Please, Eliza gasped, her voice weak from disuse. He can't know. Your husband? Eliza nodded slightly. He did this to me, the accident. He wants me dead. Sarah looked stunned. Dr. Chen suspected something wasn't right. But this? He's trying to have my life support withdrawn, Eliza whispered urgently. He's stealing everything I own. Please, I need help. I'll tell Dr. Chen right away, Sarah said. We should contact the police. No, Eliza interrupted. Not yet. Marcus has friends in the department. I need proof first. Proof of what he did. How can I help? Sarah asked without hesitation. Help me get strong, Eliza pleaded. And help me find a way to communicate with Diego, my former operations manager. He already suspects. He might be able to find proof of what Marcus has done. Sarah nodded. I can do that. And I have something else that might interest you. There's a man who has been coming to the hospital asking about you. Security keeps turning him away because he's not on your approved visitor list. A man? Who? He says his name is Matteo. He says he was there when your car went off the bridge, that he pulled you out before the car exploded. Your husband has been telling everyone you were rescued by emergency services, but this man insists it was him. Eliza felt a jolt of recognition. She had a vague recollection of rough hands pulling her from the wreckage, a bearded face hovering over her, telling her to hold on. Find him, Eliza whispered. Please. I will, Sarah promised. And in the meantime, I'll help you get your strength back when no one is around. If your husband is planning what you say, you'll need to be ready. For the first time since she had awoken to her nightmare, Eliza felt a flicker of hope. She was no longer alone. She had allies. Now she just needed to stay alive long enough to expose the truth. What do you think is a more significant form of evidence? The testimony of an eyewitness, or hard, physical proof? A confluence of allies. The next morning, when Eliza was alone, Sarah slipped into her room carrying a small duffel bag. Good morning, she whispered, checking to make sure the door was completely closed. I brought some things to help with your physical therapy. Eliza opened her eyes, still marveling at the simple freedom of being able to do so when it was safe. Any news about Matteo? I found him, Sarah confirmed, pulling small hand weights and resistance bands from her bag. He's been living under the bridge where your accident happened. He seems to feel responsible for you in some way. How did you find him? I asked at the shelter where I volunteer on the weekends. He comes by for meals sometimes. Sarah helped Eliza sit up slightly, propping up her back. He's agreed to meet me after my shift today. I'll bring him here tomorrow night when the floor is quiet. Thank you, Eliza said sincerely. What about Diego? That's more complicated. Your husband has specifically instructed security to not let him into the building, but I have an idea about that too. Sarah showed Eliza how to grasp one of the small weights. Let's work on your hand strength first. You've lost muscle tone from being immobile. As they went through gentle exercises, Sarah explained her plan. I have a friend who works at your main dealership. I can pass a message to Diego through her. If he can meet me away from the hospital, we can figure out a way for him to see you without your husband knowing. Eliza winced at the soreness in her atrophied muscles, but pushed through. Marcus is getting more aggressive with withdrawing my life support. He's looking for a different doctor who will approve it. Dr. Chen is fighting it, Sarah assured her. He's documenting every positive sign in your condition to build a case against the withdrawal of care. But what? Your husband is persistent, and he's telling everyone how devoted he is to honoring your wishes. Sarah helped Eliza extend her arm carefully. He's very convincing. Even some of the staff are starting to sympathize with him. He's always been good at manipulating people, Eliza said bitterly. It's why I never saw the truth until it was too late. They worked in silence for a few minutes, Eliza fighting through the discomfort of muscles waking up after weeks of inactivity. Can I ask you something personal? Sarah said finally. Of course. Why is he doing this? Just for your money? I think it started that way. Eliza sighed. Marcus came into my life when my business was just beginning to take off. He was charming, attentive, everything I thought I wanted. I was so busy building my company that I didn't see what was really going on, which was that he resented my success, my independence. He wanted the lifestyle my money could provide him, but he hated that it came from me. And then he met Victoria, my assistant. She made him feel powerful in ways I never did. They've been planning this for over a year, from what I've overheard. Sarah shook her head. It's hard to imagine living with someone who could do that. The worst part is that I never saw it coming, Eliza said. I thought we were happy, or at least content. I knew we had grown apart. But murder? She laughed without humor. I never suspected he hated me enough to want to kill me. We will stop him, Sarah promised, helping Eliza lie back down. But for now, you need to rest. I'll be back tonight with more exercises, and tomorrow, I'll bring Mateo. After Sarah left, Eliza closed her eyes, not feigning this time, but truly resting. Her mind was clearer now than it had been since the accident, and with clarity came determination. Marcus may have tried to take everything from her, but he had underestimated her. He always had. The next night, true to her word, Sarah returned with a visitor. Eliza, who had been feigning unconsciousness as she always did when the door opened, heard 2 pairs of footsteps enter her room. "It's just us," Sarah whispered. "You can open your eyes." Eliza looked up to see Sarah standing beside a tall, bearded man in worn clothes. He looked at Eliza with a mixture of shock and relief. "You're awake," he said. His voice was hoarse but gentle. "Mateo?" Eliza said, recognizing him from her fragmented memories. "You pulled me from the car." He nodded, moving awkwardly to the side of her bed. "I didn't think you'd remember that part." "Not clearly," Eliza admitted, "but I remember someone telling me to hold on." "That was you, wasn't it?" "Yeah." Mateo shifted uncomfortably, clearly not used to being the center of attention. "I was living under that bridge, heard the crash, saw your car go over. By the time I got there, the water was already filling it. I had to do something." "You saved my life," Eliza said softly. Mateo shrugged. "Didn't do much good if your husband's trying to finish the job." Eliza exchanged a look with Sarah. "You know about that?" "I've been watching him," Mateo said simply. "Something didn't seem right from the start. The way he acted at the accident scene. It wasn't right." "What do you mean?" Eliza asked, sitting up straighter. "When the paramedics got there, he was, I don't know, not like a man whose wife almost just died. He was asking about your condition, sure, but it was like he was checking off boxes. And then later, I saw him at your dealership." "My dealership? When?" "A couple of days after the accident. I went there because I found your business card in the car when I pulled you out. I figured someone should know what really happened. But when I got there, I saw him in the parking lot with that woman. Victoria," Eliza supplied. "Yeah, her. They were celebrating, hugging, laughing. It wasn't right." Mateo's eyes darkened. "So I started paying attention, and then I heard them talking about the brakes, the dealership. When you heard them admit they tampered with my car?" Mateo nodded. "They didn't see me. I was scavenging for cans from the dealership dumpster. They were out back. They thought they were alone. The woman, Victoria, was worried about the police investigation. Your husband told her not to worry, that he paid the mechanic well to make it look like a simple brake failure from wear and tear." "Mateo," Eliza said urgently, "would you be willing to tell this to the police?" He hesitated. "The police and me don't exactly get along, and who would believe me over a rich businessman?" "They would if we had proof," Sarah interjected. "Mateo, did you happen to see what mechanic they were talking about?" "Better than that," Mateo said, reaching into his jacket pocket. "I went to the junkyard where they took your car. Security's pretty lax there at night. I found this." He pulled out a plastic bag containing what looked like damaged brake line components. "The mechanic cut the line almost all the way through, but made it look like normal wear and tear," Mateo explained. "These pieces still have the tool marks on them. A forensic expert could prove it wasn't an accidental failure." Eliza stared at the evidence in awe. "Mateo, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything yet," he replied. "I've been keeping the pieces safe. We still need to catch them admitting to what they did. Your word against theirs isn't enough, and these pieces alone won't prove who did the cutting." Sarah touched Eliza's shoulder. "I have more news. I passed a message to Diego. He's going to meet me tomorrow at the coffee shop across the street. I told him it was about you, but I haven't explained everything yet." "Good," Eliza said, her mind racing with possibilities. "We need to be careful about how much we share and with whom. Marcus has been forging my signature on documents. Diego could help prove that." "There's something else you should know," Sarah said with hesitation. "Your husband came in earlier today while you were sleeping. He was with another doctor, a specialist from another hospital. They were discussing your condition, and the new doctor seemed much more receptive to the idea of withdrawing care." Eliza felt a cold fear wash over her. "How soon?" "I'm not sure, but from what I overheard, they're talking about making a decision within the week." "Then we don't have much time," Eliza said firmly. "We need to coordinate our efforts. Sarah, when you meet with Diego tomorrow, bring him up to speed. But be careful. If Marcus suspects anything, he might accelerate his plans." "I'll be careful," Sarah promised. "Mateo," Eliza continued, "can you keep those brake components safe? They're the best physical evidence." He nodded. "Got 'em hidden where no one will find them." "Good. And I need to keep getting my strength back," Eliza said, determination hardening her voice. "When the time comes to confront Marcus, I need to be ready." As they finalized their plans, Eliza felt something she hadn't experienced since before the accident. Purpose. She was no longer just surviving. She was fighting. And with these unexpected allies at her side, she finally had a chance at justice. What do you think is the riskiest part of Eliza's plan? The trap is sprung. The next evening, Sarah returned to Eliza's room looking energized. "I met with Diego," she said as soon as she closed the door. "He's been investigating Marcus on his own. He's already put together quite a bit of evidence." Eliza sat up eagerly. "What kind of evidence?" "Financial records showing that Marcus has been systematically transferring your assets into new accounts under his control, forged signatures on legal documents, and he's found a pattern in Marcus's past that might interest you." "What pattern?" Sarah helped Eliza with her exercises as she explained. "Before Marcus met you, he dated 2 other wealthy women. Both relationships ended when the women suddenly experienced financial troubles. One lost her business in what appeared to be a series of bad investments. The other suffered identity theft, which resulted in massive debt. Diego is certain Marcus was responsible. He's been tracking these women down. One of them is willing to talk about what happened." Eliza processed this information as she worked on strengthening her legs. So she wasn't his first target, just the most ambitious. Exactly. But here's the good news. Diego has contacts at the district attorney's office who aren't connected with Marcus's friends in the local police. He believes we have enough to start building a case. But we need something definitive. Marcus and Victoria explicitly discussing their plan. And we need it fast. Marcus is pushing to have my life support withdrawn in a matter of days, Eliza added grimly. Sarah nodded. Which is why Diego brought this. She reached into her pocket and pulled out what looked like a small decorative pin. It's a recording device. We can hide it in your room to capture their conversations when they think no one is listening. Will it work? Eliza asked, examining the tiny device. Diego says it has excellent audio quality and can record for hours. The challenge is hiding it somewhere Marcus won't notice, but where it can still pick up their voices clearly. They decided to place the device on the underside of the nightstand, carefully positioning it to capture conversations around Eliza's bed. Now we wait, Sarah said, and we hope they say something incriminating enough to use against them. And if they don't? Eliza asked. Sarah's expression grew serious. Then Dr. Chen and I will have to take official action based on our suspicions. It might not be enough to prove Marcus's guilt, but it should be enough to stop him from having your life support withdrawn while an investigation is conducted. The next day, Eliza maintained her Coma facade as Marcus arrived with Victoria. They seemed particularly animated. "It's all set," Marcus was saying as he walked in. "I've convinced the hospital ethics committee to meet tomorrow and discuss Eliza's case. The new specialist is fully on board with our perspective." "How long after the meeting until they, Victoria asked. "If all goes as planned, they could be withdrawing life support as soon as the day after tomorrow." Marcus seemed pleased with himself. Dr. Chen is still objecting, of course, but he's being overruled. "I've made a great impression as the devoted husband making the difficult but loving decision." Victoria laughed. "You always were a good actor." "It's almost over, darling," Marcus said, and Eliza could hear the sound of them kissing. "By this time tomorrow, we'll be finalizing the last of the paperwork. I've already transferred most of the important assets. The dealerships are next. What about that manager, Diego? Still causing problems?" "Not for long," Marcus said darkly. "I've arranged for some discrepancies to be found in the main dealership's accounting. By the time I'm done, he'll be facing embezzlement charges." Eliza felt a surge of rage. Marcus was not only trying to kill her, he was also planning to destroy Diego's reputation and possibly send him to prison. "You think of everything," Victoria purred. "That's why I love you." "The accident should have just killed her outright," Marcus said, his voice hardening as he presumably looked at Eliza. "But this way works too. Cleaner in some respects. No one will question a grieving husband inheriting his wife's fortune after making the painful decision to let her go, when there was no hope of recovery." "How much longer do we have to keep visiting her like this?" Victoria whined. "It's depressing." "Only until it's done. We need to keep up appearances." "Besides," Marcus added with a cold laugh, "I rather enjoy these little talks, telling her exactly what we've done, knowing she can't do a thing about it." "You're evil," Victoria teased. "You have no idea," Marcus replied. "Now let's go. We have a meeting with the lawyers to finalize the paperwork for the dealership transfer. By the time Eliza flatlines, it will all be legally mine." After they left, Eliza waited several minutes to make sure they weren't coming back. Then she opened her eyes. The recording device had captured everything. They now had proof of Marcus's intentions, his admission about the accident, and his plan to frame Diego. It was time to set her own plan in motion. That night, Sarah, Dulthur, Diego, and Mateo met in Eliza's room for a final strategy session. "The recording is clear," Diego confirmed after listening to it. "Combined with the brake components Mateo recovered and the financial documentation I've put together, we have a solid case." "But we need to move fast," Sarah added. "The ethics committee meets tomorrow at 10 a.m. If they approve the withdrawal of care, Marcus could have life support withdrawn from Eliza as early as the next morning." "So, what's the plan?" Mateo asked, looking at them all. Eliza sat up straighter in her bed, stronger now after days of secret physical therapy. "Marcus and Victoria are coming here tomorrow afternoon to meet with the lawyer. They plan to finalize the paperwork to transfer my dealerships. That's our window. I've spoken with Detective Rodriguez from the district attorney's office," Diego said, nodding. "She's been investigating financial crimes and has had Marcus on her radar for some time, though she never had enough evidence to move forward. She'll be here with officers," Sarah added, "waiting for our signal." Eliza took a deep breath. "When Marcus and Victoria are here discussing the final details of their plan, thinking I can't hear them, that's when I'll reveal I've been conscious the whole time." "Are you sure you're strong enough?" Sarah asked with concern. "I have to be," Eliza said firmly. "Marcus needs to see me awake, to know I heard everything, that I know exactly what he did." "It's risky," Mateo warned. "He might turn violent when he realizes you've been faking it." "That's why all of you will be nearby," Eliza said, "and why Detective Rodriguez and her officers will be right outside." They finalized the details of their plan, each person knowing their part. as her allies left to get some rest before the confrontation. Eliza lay back in her bed, her mind racing. Tomorrow would change everything. Either she would reclaim her life and justice would be served, or Marcus would find a way to silence her permanently. Either way, the charade would finally be over. Do you believe Eliza is being too risky by confronting Marcus face to face? Why is it so important for her to do this? The grand finale. The next morning dawned with a tense energy. Eliza went through her usual routine of feigning unconsciousness during the shift change and morning rounds. Dr. Chen came in for his examination, speaking to her normally for the benefit of any observers, while whispering updates. "The ethics committee is meeting now," he murmured as he checked her vitals. "I've submitted all the medical evidence against the withdrawal of care, but Marcus's new specialist is quite persuasive, and Marcus himself put on a great performance about honoring your wishes." Eliza squeezed his hand lightly in acknowledgement. "Detective Rodriguez is in position," Dr. Chen continued in a low voice. "She has officers stationed throughout the floor, dressed as hospital staff. No one will recognize them." After he left, Eliza focused on controlling her breathing and staying calm. Everything hinged on the timing now. Sarah had helped her apply a minimal amount of makeup early that morning, just enough to give her some color, but not so much that Marcus would notice. The recording device was in place, with a fresh battery to ensure it captured everything. Around noon, Sarah slipped in to give Eliza an update. "The ethics committee has approved the withdrawal of care," she said grimly. "They've scheduled it for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eliza felt a chill. "So, this is our only chance. Marcus and Victoria will be here at 2 p.m. with the lawyer. Diego and Mateo are already in position. Detective Rodriguez has reviewed all of our evidence and is prepared to make arrests based on what she already has. But the recording we get today will seal the case." Sarah helped Eliza sit up and stretch, working through their now familiar exercise routine, designed to prepare her for what was to come. By the time Sarah left to take her position, Eliza felt as ready as she could be. At 2 p.m., on the dot, Eliza heard Marcus's voice in the hallway, along with Victoria's, and a third voice she didn't recognize, presumably the lawyer's. She slipped back into her coma position, eyes closed, breathing even, face relaxed. The door opened, and 3 people entered. "As you can see, counsel, my wife's condition remains unchanged," Marcus was saying, his voice carrying that perfect, practiced note of grief. "The ethics committee has approved the withdrawal of care for tomorrow morning." "I understand, Mr. Thorne," the lawyer replied. "And you're certain this is what your wife would have wanted?" "Absolutely," Marcus affirmed. Eliza was always clear about not wanting extraordinary measures if there was no hope of recovery. "As painful as it is, I am honoring her wishes." "Very well," the lawyer said. "Let's review the final transfer documents for the dealerships. Once these are signed, all of Ms. Vance's business holdings will be legally under your control." Eliza heard the rustle of papers, the scraping of chairs as they sat down near her bed. "Just to confirm," the lawyer continued, "these transfers are being made under the power of attorney Ms. Vance granted you prior to her accident." "That is correct," Marcus lied smoothly. "Eliza trusted me implicitly with all of her affairs." Eliza had never signed such a document, and they all knew it. The power of attorney Marcus was using was a forgery. "The timing is fortunate," the lawyer remarked. "Having these transfers completed before tomorrow's procedure will simplify the inheritance considerably." "Yes, it will," Marcus assented. "Eliza would have wanted a clean transition, with minimal disruption to the businesses she built." The casual hypocrisy of his words made Eliza's blood boil, but she maintained her facade. As the lawyer guided Marcus through the documents, explaining various clauses and requirements, Victoria grew impatient. "Could we speed this up?" she asked abruptly. "This room is depressing." "Victoria," Marcus chided her softly, "show some respect." Why? Victoria scoffed in a low voice. She can't hear us, and by this time tomorrow, she'll be gone anyway. Still, the lawyer said, sounding uncomfortable. Perhaps we should continue this in the consultation room. Not necessary, Marcus said firmly. I want to be here with my wife. Let's continue. They proceeded through more documents, Marcus asking occasional questions about various legal points. Eliza carefully controlled her breathing, waiting for the right moment. Finally, the lawyer said, "That's everything, Mr. Thorne. If you'll just sign here, the transfer will be complete." "Gladly," Marcus replied. Eliza could picture him signing with a flourish, finally achieving what he had been plotting for so long. This was the moment to act. "And if Ms. Vance were to unexpectedly recover?" the lawyer asked, almost as an afterthought. There was a pause. Then Marcus laughed softly. "She won't." "But hypothetically," the lawyer pressed, "these transfers would be subject to challenge if she regained consciousness and disputed them." "Trust me, counsel," Marcus said coldly. "That won't be a problem after tomorrow." "I just want to be clear about all possibilities," the lawyer insisted. "As your legal counsel, the accident should have just killed her properly," Victoria interrupted impatiently. "We wouldn't even be having this conversation if the brake line had failed correctly." "Victoria," Marcus hissed, "not now." "What? He's your lawyer, isn't he? And she can't hear us." Victoria's voice moved closer to Eliza's bedside. "Look at her, completely gone. Just an empty shell, taking up space." The lawyer cleared his throat uncomfortably. "I think we should. By this time tomorrow, we will finally be free of her," Marcus said, his voice now stripped of all pretense of care or concern. "The ventilator comes off at 9 a.m. and that's it. The doctors say it shouldn't take long after that." Eliza had heard enough. It was time. Slowly, deliberately, she opened her eyes. The room came into focus. Marcus and Victoria stood near the foot of her bed, the lawyer gathering papers by the window, all three of them with their backs to her. Eliza sat up slightly and said in a clear, firm voice, "I wouldn't want that at all, Marcus." The effect was instantaneous. The lawyer dropped his papers. Victoria screamed. "And Marcus!" Marcus turned slowly, his face draining of color as he stared at his very conscious wife. "Eliza," he whispered, shock and horror mingling in his expression. "Surprise," Eliza said, her voice stronger than even she had expected. "I've been awake for weeks." That's impossible," Marcus stammered. "The doctors said." "They said what I asked them to say," Eliza interrupted him. "After I overheard you and Victoria celebrating your successful plan, the day I regained consciousness." Victoria backed away toward the door. "She's confused. Brain damage. She doesn't know what she's saying." "I know exactly what I'm saying," Eliza countered. "I know you tampered with my brakes. I know you've been forging my signature and stealing my assets. And I know you plan to finish the job tomorrow by having my life support withdrawn." Marcus seemed to regain his footing, his shock giving way to calculation. "Eliza, darling, you've been through a traumatic experience. Your mind is playing tricks on you." "Save it, Marcus," Eliza cut him off. "I heard everything. Every conversation, every plan, every cruel comment you made at my bedside thinking I couldn't hear you." The lawyer moved toward the door. "I should go. This is clearly a private matter." "Stay right there," a new voice commanded as the door opened. Detective Rodriguez entered, flanked by two uniformed officers. "No one is leaving yet." Marcus's eyes darted between Eliza and the detective. "What is this?" "Marcus Thorne," Detective Rodriguez said formally. "You are under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy." "This is ridiculous," Marcus protested, his charm instantly returning. "My wife just woke from a coma. She's confused, disoriented. Whatever she thinks she heard. We don't need her testimony," the detective interrupted, though it will certainly help. She held up a small device. We have recordings of your conversations in this room. Very incriminating conversations. You can't record people without their knowledge, Marcus argued. That's illegal. Any recording would be inadmissible. Actually, Diego said, walking into the room with Sarah and Mateo behind him. In this state, only one party needs to consent to a recording. And Ms. Vance consented, Sarah added. And we have more than just recordings, Mateo added, stepping forward with the plastic bag containing the brake components. Physical evidence of tampering with her car. Victoria suddenly tried to bolt for the door, shoving past one of the officers, but was quickly apprehended in the hallway. Marcus's facade finally cracked, his face contorted with rage as he looked at Eliza. You stupid bitch. You couldn't just die, could you? You always have to be in control. You always have to win. Officers. Detective Rodriguez nodded, and the police moved in to cuff Marcus. As he was led away, Marcus turned back to Eliza, his eyes burning with hatred. You think this is over? You've got nothing. I'll be out on bail tonight. Eliza stared him down. I heard everything, Marcus. Every plan, every lie, and now everyone else will hear it too. After Marcus and Victoria were led away, the room was silent. The lawyer stood awkwardly by the window, clutching his briefcase. Ms. Vance, I had no idea. I was told the power of attorney was legitimate. Save it, Diego said sharply. The DA will want to talk to you about your role in all this. As the lawyer was escorted away, Eliza finally allowed herself to relax back against the pillows. It was over. After weeks of pretending, of remaining completely still while her husband plotted her death, she was finally free. Sarah rushed to her side, checking her vitals. Are you okay? That must have been incredibly stressful. Eliza nodded, suddenly exhausted. It was worth it. Thank you, all of you. I wouldn't have survived without your help. What happens now? Mateo asked, stuffing his hands in his pockets awkwardly. Now, Eliza said with determination, I take back what's mine and build something better. What do you think is the most important quality Eliza has demonstrated throughout this ordeal? A new beginning. 3 weeks later, Eliza stood at the entrance of her flagship dealership, leaning on a cane, but standing proudly on her own. The building looked different somehow, brighter, full of possibility. Ready? Diego asked, standing at her side. Eliza took a deep breath and nodded. More than. As they walked through the main doors, employees stopped what they were doing, turning to stare in astonishment. News of Eliza's recovery and Marcus's arrest had spread, but few had seen her in person since before the accident. Ms. Vance, one of the receptionists gasped, rushing forward. We had no idea you were coming in today. I thought it was time, Eliza said with a smile. Time to come home. Word of her arrival spread quickly through the building. Staff members appeared from offices in the service bay, gathering in the main showroom. Eliza recognized faces. Some had been with her for years. Others were newer, hired during her absence. I want to thank all of you for keeping this place running during my absence, Eliza addressed the group. I know it hasn't been easy, especially with the confusion of the past few months. A massive understatement, of course. Marcus had fired loyal employees, hired his own people, and begun to dismantle the culture Eliza had carefully built. The damage would take time to repair. I also want to introduce, or reintroduce for some of you, Diego Ramirez, Eliza continued, gesturing to her side. As you may have heard, Diego was instrumental in uncovering what really happened during my accident. As of today, he is officially my Chief Operations Officer. Applause broke out, especially from the long-time employees who knew and respected Diego. There will be changes in the coming weeks, Eliza continued. A necessary restructuring. But I want you all to know that this company is back in my hands, and together, we will make it stronger than before. After the impromptu meeting, Eliza settled into her office, now cleared of Marcus's belongings, with Diego to discuss next steps. Forensic accountants have tracked down most of the assets Marcus transferred, Diego reported. We should be able to recover about 80% of what he took. That's better than I expected, Eliza admitted. What about the legal situation? The DA is building a solid case. Marcus and Victoria were both denied bail. The flight risk was too high, and the attempted murder charges are serious. Mateo's testimony about the brake tampering is crucial, and the recordings from your hospital room are damning. Eliza nodded, looking out the window at the dealership floor. And what about Mateo? How is he doing with the new job? Diego smiled. Surprisingly well. He started in the detailing department, but he's shown an aptitude for mechanical work. The service manager wants to move him to oil changes and basic maintenance. Make sure he gets all the training he needs, Eliza said. After what he did for me, finding those brake parts, risking his safety, I owe him a real shot. It's already arranged, Diego assured her. And Sarah called. She wanted to know if you were still coming over for dinner on Friday. Eliza smiled. During her recovery, she had grown close to the nurse who had risked her job to help expose Marcus's plot. Their friendship had been unexpected, but invaluable. One of the few positive outcomes of the whole ordeal. Tell her I wouldn't miss it, Eliza replied. Now, let's talk about that foundation idea I mentioned. Over the next month, Eliza gradually reclaimed her life. The physical recovery was a challenge. Her body had grown weak during her time in the hospital, despite Sarah's secret physical therapy sessions. But her determination never wavered. The legal proceedings moved forward. Marcus and Victoria were indicted on charges of attempted murder, fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. The evidence against them was overwhelming. The brake components with clear signs of tampering, the recordings of their conversations, the bank records showing the fraudulent transfers, and the testimony of the mechanic Marcus had paid to sabotage Eliza's car. The mechanic, facing his own charges, had agreed to testify against Marcus in exchange for a plea deal. His detailed account of how Marcus had approached him, how much he had been paid, and exactly what he had done to ensure the brakes would fail under high pressure, sealed the case. 6 months after Eliza first opened her eyes to her husband plotting her death, she hosted a small gathering at her new home, not the mansion she had shared with Marcus, but a new, modern, open-concept place. It had none of the painful memories of her old life. Sarah arrived first, bringing a bottle of wine and a warm hug. "You look incredible," she said, stepping back to admire Eliza's recovery. "The cane is gone," Eliza confirmed. As of last week, the physical therapy finally paid off. Diego and his wife arrived next, followed by Mateo, almost unrecognizable in clean clothes, his beard neatly trimmed, his face healthier after months of regular meals and stable housing. "The place looks great," Mateo said awkwardly, clearly still uncomfortable in social situations, but making an effort. "Thank you," Eliza replied warmly. "How's the new apartment?" "Still getting used to having 4 walls and a roof," Mateo admitted with a small smile. "But it's good, really good." Eliza led them to the patio overlooking the city lights. As they sat in comfortable chairs, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. "I have news," she announced once everyone had drinks in hand. "The Eliza Vance Foundation is officially up and running. Our first initiative will be a partnership with the downtown shelter to provide job training and transitional housing for people experiencing homelessness." "That's wonderful," Sarah said, squeezing Eliza's hand. "I know that's been a dream of yours since the hospital." "It has," Eliza acknowledged, "and I have more news. The jury returned a verdict today in Marcus and Victoria's trial." The group fell silent, waiting. "Guilty on all charges," Eliza said simply. Marcus will serve a minimum of 25 years, Victoria 15. A collective sigh of relief went through the group. Justice has been served. To new beginnings, Diego proposed, raising his glass. And to unexpected friendships, Eliza added, looking around at the unlikely allies who had become her closest friends. Without you, I wouldn't be here. You didn't just save my life, you helped me build a better one. As the evening continued, Eliza found herself stepping away for a moment of solitude, standing at the edge of her patio, looking out at the city lights. She reflected on how completely her life had changed. She had lost her marriage, uncovered a terrible betrayal, and faced death. But in the process, she had found something far more valuable. People who supported her not for what she could give them, but for who she truly was. Sarah joined her at the railing. A penny for your thoughts? Eliza smiled. Just thinking about how strangely life works. Marcus thought he was taking everything from me. My business, my wealth, my life. But by trying to destroy me, he actually gave me something invaluable. What's that? Sarah asked. Clarity, Eliza replied. About what matters. Who matters. She looked at Sarah, their eyes meeting with an unspoken understanding. The friendship that had started in that hospital room had grown into something deeper, more meaningful than either of them had expected. I'd go through it all again, Eliza said softly, if it meant ending up right here. The next morning, Eliza drove to the hospital for one final checkup. As she walked through the halls where she had once been confined, she felt a strange sense of gratitude. This place had been her prison, but it was also where she had found the strength to fight back. Dr. Chen greeted her with a warm smile. Ms. Vance, it's good to see you up and active. How do you feel? Better than I have in years, Eliza replied sincerely. And please, call me Eliza. After a thorough examination, Dr. Chen declared her fully recovered. Physically, you're in excellent health, and mentally, well, you've shown a remarkable resilience. I had help, Eliza acknowledged. Good people who stood by me when I needed them most. As Eliza prepared to leave, Dr. Chen hesitated. You know, in all my years of practice, I've never seen anything like your case. The woman who had to fake a coma to save her own life. Eliza smiled. Sometimes playing dead is the only way to truly start living. Later that day, Eliza drove away from the hospital for the last time, with Sarah riding shotgun. As they turned onto the main road, Eliza felt the last weight lift from her shoulders. Where to? Sarah asked. Forward, Eliza replied simply. Only forward. What do you think is the main message or lesson of Eliza's story? Call to action. If you were in Eliza's position, what would you have done? Would you have had the courage to pretend you were unconscious while your spouse conspired against you? Leave us a comment below. If you found this story of resilience and justice inspiring, please like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more incredible stories to life.